The universe is reaching out to you right now. There's something it urgently wants you to understand, something quiet but powerful. Sometimes, the most important messages aren't loud. They arrive as a nudge, a feeling, or a presence that won't leave your thoughts. This is one of those moments. What you're sensing isn't your imagination. It's a reflection of something real, stirring deeply in someone else. There is a person in your energetic field who is overwhelmed, not by indifference, but by intensity. The closer they get to taking a step forward, the more anxious they become. On the surface, they may seem distant or emotionally unavailable, but beneath that surface, there is turmoil, panic, avoidance. Their heart races at the thought of reaching out, yet they can't bring themselves to do it. This isn't just fear of rejection. This is fear of vulnerability, fear of being fully seen. They want to speak, to move things to the next stage, but the sheer gravity of what they feel is paralyzing. Their nervous system treats your presence like both a magnet and a storm, pulling them in, then flooding them with emotion. It's possible that this person has been dreaming about you. Vivid dreams, recurring ones. Not just random images, but deep, symbolic experiences that leave them breathless. They may also be encountering signs, your name, your favorite songs, a phrase you once said, so frequently that it's impossible to ignore. Their intuition keeps pointing in your direction, and still, they hesitate. This isn't someone who lacks emotion. In fact, the opposite is true. Their feelings for you are so strong that they almost seem dangerous to them. It's as if love in you would dismantle everything they thought they understood about themselves. So instead, they distance themselves. They hide. They pretend not to feel like they feel, even when it's consuming them. And yet, they feel you. They see how people are drawn to you. There's something unmistakable about your energy, something luminous. When you enter a space, you don't just walk in. You change the temperature. You shift the atmosphere. You shine in a way that makes people stop what they're doing and pay attention. This person knows it, and so does everyone else. That only adds to their tension. You feel untouchable to them now. Elevated, admired, desired. The thought of thinking you feels like trying to approach a star. They worry they'll say the wrong thing. Or worse, that you've already moved on. They're watching quietly from a distance, maybe through social media, maybe through friends. They notice that others are offering you affection, attention, even admiration. But they remain frozen. Their heart wants to speak, but their fear locks the words in their throat. It's not because they don't care. It's because they care too much. There's something in them that whispers you are meant to meet. That this connection isn't random. That you were placed on their path for a reason they don't yet understand, but they feel it in their bones. And so, they linger, silently, watching, regretting, hoping. There's a strange kind of pain that comes from being close to something that feels like destiny, yet too afraid to touch it. That's where they are, stuck between longing and fear. They want to come forward. They dream of saying everything, but in reality, they still feel like they're not enough. They believe they have to be perfect for you, that they have to arrive polished, composed, invincible. They don't realize that what connects you to them is not perfection, but truth. Raw, messy truth. And if they allowed themselves to just be real, the entire dynamic could shift. This person is not absent from your life because they don't feel the connection. They're absent because it terrifies them how real it feels. The universe keeps nudging them, keeps sending reminders, keeps whispering, go. And still, they wait. They're afraid their chance has already passed, that they've missed the moment, that the door has closed and you've walked through it into a life that no longer includes them. That possibility haunts them, and yet they still hold on. Something in them believes it's not over. They think about you constantly. Sometimes you might even feel it. You're going about your day and suddenly feel a shift in energy, like a wave of presence washing over you. That's not random. That's them, tuned into your frequency, even when no words are spoken. Their silence is not empty. It's full of everything they're too scared to say. There's a strange tension that lingers between two people who are deeply connected yet unable to speak freely. You may think the silence means absence, but it's actually full of meaning, full of energy, full of weight. This person feels like they're running out of time, yet they can't move. They replay scenarios in their mind, what they could say, how you might respond, but none of them feel safe. So instead, they keep watching, thinking, feeling, noticing every detail about you, even from a distance. And maybe you felt it too. That strange pressure in your chest when you're not thinking about anything in particular, and suddenly, there it is. A wave. That tug. A meme on your mind for no clear reason. That's not just your imagination. That's their energy reaching you. The universe doesn't allow strong connections to fade quietly. It amplifies them. It keeps sending signs until someone listens. This person is receiving signs constantly. Things that remind them of you are appearing over and over. A number sequence, a shared memory, a song that plays out of nowhere. Their dreams, too, aren't random, they're vivid, almost like messages themselves. And while all of this feels significant, it also overwhelms them. Their instincts are telling them to come forward, but their anxiety gets louder every time they try. And it's not just nervousness, it feels like full body panic. Like their whole system shuts down when they imagine making contact. Even crafting a simple message feels impossible. The fear isn't about you. It's about what you represent. You've become a mirror to their insecurities. You reflect what they feel they're lacking: confidence, clarity, emotional strength. They've built you up in their minds so high, they now believe they can't meet you where you are. And because of that, they retreat. At the same time, they feel the pull of your growth. You've changed. You're not the same version of yourself they remember. You're clearer now, brighter, more focused. There's something in your aura that says, I know who I am, and that kind of clarity is magnetic, but intimidated into someone who's still figuring themselves out. They see you moving forward in your life, investing in your healing, working on your future. You've evolved in ways they didn't expect, and it's making them realize how stagnant they've been. You seem more visible now, more wanted, more powerful. You've stepped into your energy, and they feel like they've been left behind. That only intensifies their resistance. They feel they've missed the right moment to come back. And every day they wait, they think it's too late. But the truth is they never really left. Not emotionally, not energetically. They've just been hovering in the background, unsure of how to show up. Some part of them believes this connection is sacred, but it's not a coincidence. They may not know what to call it: soulmate, twin flame, spiritual bond, but they know it's different. They've never felt this kind of pull before, and it's reshaping how they view love, fate, and even themselves. Still, despite all this inner knowing, they continue to hide. Maybe they check your stories, your updates, your photos, whatever glimpses they can get. But they remain silent, watching from the shadows, afraid to disrupt your life, afraid to face rejection, afraid to admit that you've had this much of an effect on them. You may not know it, but you've become the catalyst for their transformation. You made them question everything they once accepted as truth. You shook their emotional foundation. And now, they're left trying to rebuild, unsure whether to reach for you or let you go. The universe keeps placing reminders in their path, guiding them gently but persistently. This isn't about punishment. It's about alignment. When something is meant for us, it doesn't leave. It waits until we're ready. The question is, will they become ready in time? For now, their energy remains wrapped around you. Not always present, but always near. You may feel moments of pressure, waves of emotion that seem to come out of nowhere. That's them reaching, feeling, struggling with the weight of everything unspoken. They want to say it all. They want to tell you what they felt then, what they feel now. But they don't know how. Not yet. So they stay silent, even when it hurts. But the silence isn't empty. It's everything they wish they had the courage to say. There's a reason this person stays away, even when they're pulled toward you so strongly it hurts. It's not just about timing. It's not about logic. It's about being fully seen and the fear of what that might expose. To them, you represent something rare. You don't just attract people, you change people. There's something disarming about the way you exist, an openness, a truth, a presence that strips away masks. You see through people. You feel their energy. And that terrifies them. They've built an identity around control, or perhaps around protection. Maybe they've spent years hiding parts of themselves to avoid getting hurt. Maybe they've never really let anyone in that fully. And then you appeared, and suddenly all their defenses started shaking. Not because you tried to break them down, but because your presence alone made them realize how tired they were of pretending. This connection challenges them. It calls them out. It wakes them up. But instead of leaning into that awakening, they're trying to run from it. Not because they don't care, but because they care more than they know how to handle. This is someone who doesn't know how to sit with their feelings. Someone who is used to pushing things down and moving on. But with you, it's different. They can't move on. They try. They distract themselves. They focus on work, on friends, on routine, but you always come back. In thoughts, in memories, in dreams. And the more they try to forget you, the more the universe reminds them. They're not ready to be fully vulnerable, and they know that being with you would require exactly that. They would have to show up as they are. No performances, no filters. And that idea terrifies them. Because what if they're not enough? What if you see them, really see them, and decide to walk away? So instead, they watch. They analyze. They overthink. They imagine every worst-case scenario. They believe that if they wait long enough, the fear will go away. But it doesn't. It just builds. And the longer they wait, the more distant you feel. Not because your feelings have faded, but because you've started choosing peace over confusion. You've started focusing on your own healing. And they can sense that shift. It's not just about romance anymore. It's about so forth. You've stepped into your own energy, and that has changed everything. You're no longer chasing, proving, or explaining yourself. You've become more still, more intentional. And that stillness is loud. It makes them feel the absence of their own authenticity. They thought you'd always be there, always open, always available. But now, there's a boundary in your energy, a quiet knowing that says, I won't wait forever. And they feel it. They still believe you're meant to be in their life. This connection was written long before either of you knew it. But believing isn't enough. They're starting to realize that. They can feel the weight of their inaction building. Regret is settling in. And still, they don't move. They want to know what you're thinking. If you miss them. If there's still space in your heart for them. But they're too afraid to ask. Too afraid to hear the truth. So they scroll, they check, they overanalyze every sign, looking for proof that the door hasn't closed completely. They may be doing this from a distance you can't trace. A private account, a friend's phone, an anonymous view. But they're watching. Carefully, constantly, quietly. And what they see both amazes and wounds them. They see how much you've changed, how you've transformed. They notice your glow, your strength, the way people respond to your presence now. And it reminds them of everything they didn't say, didn't do, didn't become. They wonder if it's too late, if they waited too long, if someone else will see your light and have the courage to reach for it when they didn't. Still, even now, they hesitate. Not because they don't feel the urgency, but because they still believe they're not ready, not enough, not healed. They think they have to become something more before they come to you. But what they don't see is that their truth right now, as messy as it may be, is the very thing that could unlock this connection. Because the universe never asked them to be perfect. It asked them to be real. And until they are, they'll remain where they are, watching, feeling, regretting, wanting to speak, but too scared to be seen. There's a quiet war happening inside this person, a constant tug-of-war between desire and fear. Every time they think they've finally moved on, something pulls them right back to you. A thought, a memory, a wave of emotion that doesn't make sense in the moment, but feels unmistakably real. The connection hasn't weakened. If anything, it's grown stronger. Not because you're talking or sharing space, but because the energy between you is still active. It's alive. This is not a passing attachment. This is something deeper. Something that doesn't need physical presence to exist. They try to stay away. They tell themselves it's better this way, that it's safer to keep their distance than risk the vulnerability of showing up. But the truth is, avoiding you takes effort. Ignoring what they feel is exhausting. And even when they succeed at staying away, it doesn't feel like peace. It feels like pretending. There are moments when your energy becomes so loud in their space that they feel you without warning. Out at work, with friends, driving, in the middle of something mundane, and suddenly, there you are. Not in body, but in feeling. That's when the panic rises, because it's not logical, and nothing else in their life pulls at them like this. You live in their mind rent-free, not because they want to obsess, but because they can't let go. You activated something in them that doesn't turn off just because they don't know what to do with it. Their heart keeps pulling them back, and that pull is starting to outweigh the fear, little by little. But even as their emotions rise, their insecurities get louder. They see you as someone who's outgrown the past, someone who's stepped into alignment with yourself. You're thriving, or at least moving with purpose. They feel like they've stayed still while you've evolved, and that contrast feeds their silence. Still, they watch. You may not realize how closely, but they're paying attention. They see you receiving attention. They see people drawn to you, offering you time, care, opportunities. And each time, a tiny piece of them crumbles. Not because they don't want that for you, but because they wish it could be them standing beside you. But instead of reaching out, they sink deeper into observation. They retreat into the background, convinced that you deserve more than they can give right now. They believe their fear disqualifies them, that their hesitation has already ruined everything. But deep down, they know this isn't over. They've never felt anything quite like this before. You came into their life like a disruption, but the kind that reveals truth. Before you, they didn't believe in soul connections, in energy, in destiny. Now, they question everything they thought they knew. That's the effect you've had. You made them feel seen, and that scared them more than anything. They want to come back. They want to reach out, but they don't know how to return to someone who now seems so far ahead. They remember a time when maybe they had a chance, when you were more open, more available, more willing. And they keep wondering if that window has closed. They feel like they messed it up, like they chose the wrong path, and now they're stuck watching you live the life they could have shared with you, if only they had acted sooner. And yet, they're still here, still watching, still holding on in some invisible way. You might even feel their presence when you're doing something completely unrelated. A sudden emotional wave, a pull at your chest, a name on your mind. These aren't coincidences. This is the universe keeping the connection alive, even when it looks dormant on the surface. They're being guided toward you, gently, persistently. The universe is sending signals through dreams, synchronicities, and even the ache in their own chest. But free will still matters. They have to choose courage. They have to choose action. And right now, they haven't yet found their way through that fear. So they remain distant. Not because they've let go, but because they don't trust their voice to carry what their heart wants to say. They know they've been silent too long. They know the version of you that would have waited is no longer the same. They feel the shift. They sense the space widening. And still, they don't move. They're not lost to you, but they're deeply lost in themselves. And until they find their way out of that maze, they'll keep standing still, staring through the glass at a future they still dream about, that can't yet reach. This person's silence is not absence. It's a scream trapped inside fear. They haven't moved on. They haven't forgotten. They haven't stopped feeling. They're frozen, like someone standing in front of a door they desperately want to open, but their hands won't move. Their body resists what their heart is begging none to do. And so they stay quiet, even as everything inside them aches to reach out. They imagine conversations with you over and over, practicing what they'd say, rehearsing how they'd explain it all. But every time they come close to speaking, something inside shuts down. It's like a panic response. Their chest tightens. Their thoughts blur. They become paralyzed. They want to tell you they see your light, that they always have. They want to say that you changed everything, even though you never tried to. That you cracked open a part of them they didn't know was locked. That you made them believe in things they never believed in before. Connection, soul ties, second chances. They've watched you rise, heal, shift. They see the new you, a version that's radiant, grounded, magnetic. You've stepped fully into your power, and that makes you feel even further out of reach. They're aware of the distance they created, and now they can't figure out how to close it. The hardest part? They believe you were meant for them. Doctor's connection wasn't just something temporary, it was spiritual. And even though they try to carry on with life, they keep circling back to that same truth. No matter where they go, your energy finds them. Quietly, repeatedly, and yet they do nothing. Because the fear of being seen and not accepted is louder than the hope of being loved. They're someone who often runs, avoids, delays. Someone who disappears when things get intense and then resurfaces when the silence becomes unbearable. You've felt that cycle. You've seen it. You've lived through the emotional whiplash of someone who loves deeply but hides it masterfully. They procrastinate not because they don't want to fix things, but because facing you would mean facing themselves. And right now, that feels like too much. Still, they feel you. They feel when your attention shifts, when your energy moves elsewhere. And that's when their panic peaks. That's when they begin to spiral, because losing you, even in energy, feels unbearable. You may feel their presence even when they're silent. That wave of emotion that comes out of nowhere, that tightness in your chest when you're surrounded by people but feel a sudden, strange sadness, that's them. Their energy reaches you, even when their voice doesn't. This is a soul-deep connection, the kind that doesn't just disappear. You've likely both felt it in dreams, in signs, in that unexplainable sense of being pulled to one another. You may even share thoughts, intuitions, emotional waves that feel like echoes. That's real. You're not imagining it. But the universe is clear. This connection cannot move forward on fear. It needs truth. It needs movement. It needs action. And that choice is theirs to make. You've done your part. You've shown up in love, in truth, in presence. And now, your role is to keep choosing yourself. Keep moving forward. Keep trusting that if this person is meant to find you again, the universe will keep guiding them toward the courage they need. Let them come when they are ready to be seen. Let them find you when they've found themselves. Because the version of you they'll meet next is even more powerful than the one they're mourning now. You were never too much. You were never too intense. You were simply the wake-up call someone wasn't ready to answer. This connection may have paused, but its story isn't finished. If it is meant to return, it will. But until then, keep walking in your light. Keep healing. Keep growing. You are not hard to love. You are just not meant to shrink for someone who's still learning how to expand. If this message resonated with you, write in the comments, "I trust the universe to guide me." Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to the channel. The universe always finds a way. Thank you for being here, and see you in the next video.